There's so many nostalgic things about Minecraft, from the broken features, the YouTubers that we watch for hours on end, and most importantly, the music. You can throw Worst Seed Ever onto this list for sure. If you played Minecraft in its early days, then you definitely remember this seed. But if you need a little refresher, or you never got to play on it, here's a quick rundown on why it was so special. You spawn in on this little island to see a mob spawner load in 20 blocks away from you. Cool, right? But there's more. Once you loot the chest inside the mob spawner and get enough resources for a pickaxe, you head into the cave right beneath the spawner. As you journey down, you'll come across what seems to be your average cave. Well, if your average cave is filled with diamonds. There are a total of 15 diamonds within a 30 block radius of each other, not to mention every other type of ore there is. Once you're done resource gathering in the cave, you come back to the surface. If you're still not impressed, how about another mob spawner only 30 or so blocks further? So that makes 2 mob spawners in a cave filled with diamonds right off spawn. Sounds pretty good to me. People bring up nostalgia all the time when it comes to this game, but most forget to mention possibly the best seed there ever was. I know, pretty ironic that the best seed ever is called Worst Seed Ever. It's part of its charm. This seed gained a large amount of popularity within the Minecraft community, especially among the people who played it on the Xbox 360, which a lot of us started out on. Me and my friends found out about this seed and got hooked. Every day after school, we would rush home just to see who could find all the diamonds or get to the spawner first. It truly was like training wheels for us, as it gave us easy access to some of the rarest things in the game. We truly became fanatics, to the point where we would pretend like we were sick and couldn't go to school, and then play for hours. But eventually, we found new worlds to explore, because we knew the landscape of the seed like it was the back of our hands. In our journey of exploring these new worlds, we no longer needed training wheels. We were able to find diamonds on our own, and come across mob spawners occasionally. To be honest, we grew out of Worst Seed Ever, taking an extended break from it. Days became weeks, and weeks became months. We planned on returning to visit and recreate memories, but nobody, including us, knew that that would be impossible. So what happened to Worst Seed Ever? I took some time to stock up enough information to answer the question that a lot of us have, but the truth is, there's not that many references about the seed. It was as if everyone forgot it existed. I started to use a specific timeline for what I believe was its lifespan, somewhere between the official release of Java Edition, which was November 18, 2011, and 2014. It turns out I was kinda close, as the official end date of the seed was October 25th, 2013. So now you're probably wondering, what happened that day? Now that I had a date, I was able to narrow down my search to this, something called the update that changed the world. So was this the cause of Worst Seed Ever's tragic end? And the answer is yes. But how? And why did they feel the need to change the world that so many people were enjoying? I found an article on Minecraft Wiki about seed generation, and I found this part that gave a pretty direct answer, explaining that no seed before the 1.7.2 update will be the same due to the fact that developers changed the terrain generation drastically, rendering old seeds to be unplayable. To be fair, you can still load into them, but they're not the same. Not even in the slightest. And on top of that, they changed the terrain generation once again in the aquatic update, bringing in new structures, blocks, and underwater biomes into the game. So what we have learned so far is that anytime developers add in something to the game, they either have to drastically change the terrain generation algorithm or tweak it just a little bit. So what did they add in the update that changed the world? After reading the list of things they added, it's understandable as to why they had to drastically change the terrain generation. They added in 9 new biomes into the game for the first time, some of those being the Dark Oak Forest, Taiga, and the Mesa. They also re-added the Savannah biome after they removed it in the beta right before the game released. But wait, what happened to the Xbox 360 version? For those of you who don't know, Xbox 360 Edition was neither Java or Bedrock at the time. It was called Legacy Console Edition, and did not receive updates as soon as the other versions of the game did. Moving on, I focused my research to the exact date Worst Seed Ever was ruined, but there was no specific update detailing a large world generation. I then went on to Twitter and tried to look for any clues, and I eventually found this post saying that they were tired of the new Survival Island. Survival Island? This has to be a mistake, right? But I assumed it wasn't, and I used this bit of information to lead me to my next clue, which was a video on October 27th, 2012, where this guy types in the seed and wow, it really is a survival island. There's no mob spawner in sight, and the terrain is completely different. I came across another video from the same guy on January 5th, 2013, only 2 months later, and the seed has seen yet another drastic change, where instead of a mob spawner or even a survival island, we see what looks to be just another seed. I then checked out the Xbox 360 title update history and found that title update 5, which came out October 16th, 2012, was the main culprit, as the developers added in generated structures such as villages, mine shafts, strongholds, and ravines. They also added in 3 new biomes as well: the swamp, extreme hills, and the ice plain. So although it didn't include the same things as the infamous 1.7.2 update, or the update that changed the world, it still had a decent amount of new terrain to add in, ultimately changing the terrain generation. So Title Update 5 was the real reason for worstseedever's alteration on the Legacy Console Edition, and it occurred 1 year before the Java update that altered the seed for good, which was surprising for me for some reason, as I always thought it lasted longer than it did on the Xbox 360 edition. So I know that's probably a lot to take in, but it was worth figuring out what happened to one of the most iconic seeds in Minecraft history, and unfortunately for us, we can no longer play on the seed. Unless of course you're one of the few with your old Xbox 360 or PC and never updated the game past the 5th title update or the update that changed the world. For the select few, enjoy worstseedever and make sure to never update your game. That's gonna wrap up the video. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and also comment if you're one of the Minecraft veterans who played on the seed back in the day.